Welcome to the BWWP video broadcast. The broadcast will begin shortly. Please stay tuned. Welcome to the BWWP video broadcast. The broadcast will begin shortly. Please stay tuned. Welcome to the BWWP video broadcast. The broadcast will begin shortly. Please stay tuned.
Welcome to Black Women's World, where Black women vibe and thrive together. And if you ain't a Black woman, you'll get to know at least one. Because this Black Women's World, my Black woman's world, is whatever I say it is, simply because I am. So welcome, SistaNistas and SistaNista Lovers. We're here for you. Much love and peace. Well, hello, everybody. I am TracyMac, your host of Black Women's World Podcast. I hope I am your favorite podcast host by now. Come on, y'all. And by the way, go over and follow, like Black Women's World Podcast. We are blackwomensworld.com. And we also have a YouTube channel. We know a lot of people like to listen to podcasts, but some people want to see it. I started doing the YouTube channel, especially for people that did not have a Spotify or an Apple Music an account, and allows them to see us on the podcast as well. But I thank you, my SistaNistas and SistaNista Lovers from all over the world. I am so glad that you are here with me. Today, I have a treat for us. It's a treat for you and it's a treat for me too, baby. Let me tell you. I have a special guest and I don't want to prolong the time. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to show you how pretty she is first. And then I'm going to tell you who she is. Listen, I have with me today Felicia D. Stanley. She is a seasoned senior project management leader with over 24 years of experience leading complex projects across various industries. Known for her strategic vision and ability to inspire confidence, she has successfully guided diverse teams through intricate project landscapes. As an African American professional, Felicia Stanley champions diversity and cultivates a culture of excellence in the workplace. In her latest book, which is what we're going to talk to Ms. Stanley about today, titled Mastering Project Management 101, Transferable Skills for Career Success, she distills years of hands-on experience and expert insights into an accessible guide for aspiring project managers. She has this ebook. Y'all got to go get this ebook. We're going to give you the information as we go. But this ebook offers practical strategies and essential skills that transcend industries, making it a must read to anyone looking to excel in project management. Felicia is dedicated to empowering professionals to achieve their career goals with confidence and competence. Connect with her on LinkedIn. But let me tell you, before you connect with her, let me let you see how beautiful this lady right here is. Because I ain't here by myself. Welcome to the stage, everybody. Miss Felicia Stanley. Hello, Felicia.
Hello. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you for the invite and thank you for that awesome introduction. I'm super excited to be here and spend time with you this morning.
Yes, thank you. We are super excited to have you here live. And y'all throw Felicia some hearts. Give her some hearts down there in the chat. Let you know we are glad to see you, not only as a person, a woman, but a Black woman professional in the field. But before we get into all of that, Felicia, I have known you since 2017. 2017 is a good year.
It's a great year. It's a great year indeed. Yes. One of the best years of my life, actually.
Yes, it is. It is. Felicia, I have said so much and I love hearing your voice. Tell the people how we met, and I may chime in too, but tell the people how we met in 2017.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to tell this story. So TracyMac and I met on I'd say an elevation in our personal development, if you will, yes. Through the awesome organization organization of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. TracyMac and I are actually line sisters, and we shared a very intricate and special experience, one that we would never forget, and one that was bonding and keeps us connected for a lifetime. We have a very kindred connection through that experience, and one that I cherish and adore. So that is how we met, and that is how we will walk until the end of this earth as my line sister and my very special friend.
Absolutely. Felicia, I love you and I appreciate that. I am so grateful for that opportunity at that time. And like you said, what we still share in our intricate relationship.
Yes,
And as a professional, I
absolutely.
just want to share with my SistaNistas and SistaNista lovers all things about Felicia as a professional Black woman. Tell me about project management, because a lot of our listeners listening from other countries, or some may not be even be familiar with what project management is, and how in your 24
Mhm.
years you became a guru. Because I'm gonna go ahead and call it like I see it. So
Yeah.
just talk to them. I'm gonna let you and let you fly.
Yeah, absolutely. And project management, and just to define it in its simplest terms, is the ability to manage an endeavor, a temporary endeavor, until fruition. So essentially, you are taking anything. It could be you doing a personal project at home, building a shelf. Or on a grander scale, managing multi-million dollar projects to create a digital transformation at a company, or essentially create a billing platform. It could go from a nominal scale to a grand scale, but it's essentially taking your skills of communication, of time management, of organizing, of problem solving and decision making, and executing those skills and seeing that project, whether small or grand, to end. It's temporary. It's not a long time thing. You won't be managing these things forever, but essentially that's what it is at its core. It's using your transferable skills. Hence the reason why I wrote this book, to see things through to the end, in its temporary edifice, if you will.
Wow, wow. I like that, to see things through to the end. Because a lot of
Yes,
times we'll get started, we'll be excited, and we may not have all the tools we need or the support we need, and then we'll drop the ball.
that's
And
right.
how did
Mhm.
you, because as I'm not sure if there's a quote unquote degree in project
Mhm.
management, I'm sure there are classes and courses, but how did you come into project management, and what's your educational background as to how you got into this field?
Yeah, it's a funny story how I walked into project management. I'll start with post college. So when
Okay.
I graduated college, I was actually a civil litigation coordinator for a local lawyer in Rayford, North Carolina. That is where I grew up, and
Wow.
he used to always compliment me on how I was able to organize things, or be able to time manage and ensure that his schedule and the clients, etc., their expectations were exceeded by my interpersonal skills. He used to always compliment me on that. And I never understood what I had until I branched into project management. But that was the trigger for me to look into how I could maximize the skills that others had saw in me, but that I didn't even see in myself. So I
Mhm.
ended up applying for a position to allow me to execute those skills in a more frequent manner. So I ended up applying for Sprint. I used to work at
Okay.
Sprint, and at the time, I was a simple call center agent, but I was still using the ability to time manage, the ability to communicate effectively, the ability
Mhm.
to problem solve customers
Okay.
who were calling in. And because I was strong at that skill, I quickly promoted into being a trainer. Again, maximizing my skill on
Mhm.
communication, on time management, etc. And at the time, we experienced a downsizing and the call center closed. But because of the connections and networks that I had made in my career at Sprint at the time, I ended up branching into a project manager one position because of the
So
skills that I had as a trainer at the time.
So
Go ahead.
how did you know that project
Mhm.
management would be the next step? Did you see somebody who was doing project management? How
No,
did you?
I didn't. Someone else saw that in me. Someone else saw that in me. I didn't see that at all. I didn't put two and two together at the time. As I mentioned, because of the networks that I made and they saw
Mhm.
my skill set, they recommended that I apply for a project manager one position. I didn't put two
Awesome.
and two together at the time. But as soon as I stepped into that project manager one position, I knew this is where I belong.
This
This
is it.
is where I thrive. This is
Mhm.
because of how I was managing things, and it was innate. It came off of me so naturally, to the point where I quickly elevated in that project manager one, two, three, till I started managing project teams and start training project teams, started branching out
Wow.
into doing business process improvement, managing business process improvement teams, and just quickly climbed up the ladder because of those skills. And, I quickly reflect as I was writing this book. I'm thinking, I had these skills. I didn't even know I had these
Mhm.
skills. Someone
Mhm.
else is in that very same position. They have these skills, they're doing it well. Why not use your skills to
Right.
maximize your opportunities? And project management is that opportunity. So
Wow.
essentially, that's how I came into it. It was unbeknownst to me, it was the skills that
Mhm.
others saw in me. But once I
Mhm.
actually landed, or landed on that runway, I
Right,
knew
right.
that exactly where I needed to be. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's
So
that's my
Felicia,
story. Mhm,
so at the onset, like you said, somebody saw something
mhm.
in you. So long before, and your company name is Guidance Pro LLC. Congratulations on that.
Yeah,
And before
thank you.
Guidance Pro LLC, before this wonderful book that we'll be showing the audience again, and y'all just give her some hearts and drop some questions in the chat if you have for Felicia. Um, what was that first job? What did that entail? Because I think some people hear project management, and because, like you said earlier, it's so vast and it can be any project.
Mhm.
What was your first job that led
Yes,
from one, two to
you
three
can.
for you to become the guru of Guidance Pro LLC?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So my first job was actually in the retail realm, and I was managing a cash management system. And the goal, and in a project, you always have an end goal, and the end goal of
Mhm.
that particular project was to we were migrating from one cash management system to the next. So my goal was to build a plan on how to do that. I need to identify who needs to be involved. I need to identify the tasks and different deliverables that need to take place. And I need to organize those tasks by way of time to ensure that they get done by the projected end date. So that was the goal. And in going into that project, I did not know a lot of the stakeholders. I had to learn stakeholder management, although some things came to me innately, and it really deals with, how you interact with people, your
Mhm.
interpersonal
Mhm.
skill set, your soft
Mhm.
skills.
Mhm.
I had those, but I had to grow those skills, especially in the
Mhm.
professional realm. So that taught me how to do that, making sure that I identify the right people to be at the
Mhm.
right place at the right time, ensuring that I knew how to influence, how to persuade,
Mm.
how to make sure that they understood, the directive, and they, stayed on course to that directive.
Mhm.
So I had to learn those skills in that project. But that was my very first project. And it taught me that, elevating my stakeholder management skill and also elevating my dependency skill set. Because in a project, you're going to understand that in order for me to do X, I may have to wait on X, or I may have to, be aware of X because there's some
Mhm.
dependency to some degree. So
Mhm.
that was another skill that I had to learn. Those are the two skills mainly that I learned in my very first project, because the others, organizing, time management, again came to me innately. But as you start building your project portfolio, if you will, you're going to understand that you're going to learn something new every single time. Even in my 24 years, I still learn something new every day. And it helps me become a better professional. So, yeah.
Wow,
Mhm.
you just dropping nuggets, and while you just talking, dropping, I'm taking notes, and I'm not in the project management field, but what I love so much about what you're saying, Felicia, is that in project management, we can project manage our lives. I encourage
That is
anybody,
correct.
because of what she
Mhm,
has just spoken is not just for those people who are in the project management profession. Because when
mhm,
she said we have to who identify the task,
mhm,
organize, do it in a timely fashion. And when you just said
mhm.
earlier about X, you may have to wait on X. It's not linear. So goes life.
Right.
And
That's right.
so
100.
when you're looking, yeah, so goes life. And so I'm thinking about this from a standpoint of, and I'm just going to put the book back up here because it is an ebook. So it's not a book that we have
Mhm,
in our hands right now, but it's awesome because it's professional development in digital products. And so
mhm,
in this transferring your skills, Felicia just talked about how when she was starting out, someone saw something in her and then she began to act on it. So sometimes we have to get to a point where people see things in
mhm.
us better than we can see in ourselves. But if she didn't act on it, she would have never gone from Sprint call center into project management. Felicia, did you have mentors
That's right.
in this space? And can you talk a little
Absolutely.
bit about how what that means,
Absolutely.
and even how your book is
Yes.
mentoring people? Don't blow the thunder on the book, baby, because we want them to read it.
Yeah.
How does mentorship we want them to go get this book. How does mentorship play in? Don't laugh because you're gonna make me keep laughing. How did mentorship play in the major transformation and the transitioning of you going into this? And how do you mentor in and outside of your book?
Yeah, absolutely. Mentorship was key for me from day one. And honestly, I'll have to start with, as I mentioned, I didn't recognize that I had the skill that I had unless my mentor to this day, her name is Jennifer Avant. She saw in me what I didn't see. She's the one that recommended that I apply for that project manager
Wow.
position.
Wow.
And she and I still speak to this day. We have very long, vast conversations about my career, and she often reflects on the past and where we came from. That so having a mentor is very important in this field because you're not going to know everything. I didn't know everything in the beginning. She was very well versed. She was actually a
Hmm.
program manager. There's different levels to the project management discipline. There's your project manager, there's your program manager, there's your portfolio manager, and of course, as you advance through those levels, there are different critical skills that you have to possess for each one. And of course, the
Hmm.
level of complexity increases. So she was at a level that I was aspiring to, didn't know a lot about, of course, because I was very new in the field, but aspiring to because I saw how she moved.
Hmm.
She was
Hmm.
a expert at executing those transferable skills. So, having someone that you want to hone in on their skill and make sure that you grab what they have. It may not be everything, but little nuggets that you see
Hmm.
that they do that you want to learn from. Being
Yeah.
able to speak to someone candidly, transparently is important in order for you to excel in this field. So I took what Jennifer did for me, and actually, as I moved up my ladder, another mentor of mine was Judy Schultz. So you don't have to only have one. I actually have
Right.
four mentors.
Okay. Excellent.
As I advanced every level in my career, of course, you're going to have people that you see that you want to get close to because you see something in them that you
Hmm.
want to develop within yourself. So Judy Schultz is another. She taught me more about the financial aspect of project management. She also taught me the art of persuasion in project
Mm.
management, which is key.
Okay.
Um, so yes, you need those mentors. Mentors are
Yes.
extremely key, and because of that, and what my mentors have done for me, I'm trying to do that through mastering project management one-on-one. At one point in
Hmm.
my career, I was doing a lot of consulting and acting in a mentor,
Hmm.
and such, taking aspiring project managers or those who were in a teacher field or in another industry and wanted to transition into project management, giving them insight and my experiences on how to transition into that and what you need to look out for and what you need to maximize on from a skill set perspective. So I make it a point to do that, especially amongst African Americans, because this field is somewhat unrevealed, if you will. It kind of flies under the radar for African Americans. But if you think about African Americans in general and what we endure on a day-to-day basis, we have a lot of these transferable skills that we can transition into a professional realm and excel on a very high level. So that's my goal. And I try to be that and do that every single day. But yes, please get a mentor, get 3, get 4. It's very
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, because it is extremely important. A lot of times people think getting help is a weakness, and that is so far from the truth. We look at people's lives, especially if they're entertainers, actors, athletes, or whatever, and we see their big lives. Do you know how many people they have on staff to help them look like they look? Whether it be personal chefs, whether it be drivers, stylists, people that do their hair, take care of their children, and also their coaches, and especially in athleticism. But when it comes to athletes, but also in every arena. And Felicia, I thank you, because your book is a way that you are choosing to deliberately mentor. If they can't get Felicia, to be sure, you can get the book. And so you can get the book on, she's at Guidance Pro LLC on IG, and as well as Guidance Pro LLC on Facebook. And you can get to Felicia that way, because she's such a busy woman. She don't have a whole lot of time to mentor individually, but she took time to put some of her best tips and nuggets into her book, Mastering Project Management 101, to help people. Because I love the fact that you said, because even though this Black Women's World podcast, at one time when I first started it, Felicia, it was during the time just after George Floyd. And I was talking to Black people all over the world. But as my life began to evolve and change, I realized that I was really sharing about my world, and then found out how many people, SistaNistas who are Black women and SistaNista Lovers who are people who love us, that how my world was resonating theirs. It's like, me too. I've gone through that too, whether it be spirituality, business, finances, family relationships. And so when I see these things and people want to go through life as if they don't need no help, because if if we would only stop asking for help and getting mentorship is not a weakness, it's actually a strength, because that proves how big your life is, that my life is so big that I'm not going to do it by myself. I need support. I need help, and it's not a weakness. So I thank you really for bringing that out. And when we talk about,
and it's also,
go ahead.
And I think I was going to say, it's also an admission or a self-reflection of, you don't know everything. you don't know no one knows everything. Yes, I consider myself, being well-versed in my field. I don't even say expert, because I'm not there yet. I am continuously growing, and I make it a mark to continuously do that. Continuing my education, continuing my professional development is something that is key to me. I don't think I would ever be the expert. I am well versed, and I know what I'm talking about. But in order for me to get to that expert level, it causes me to continue to grow. And you can't do that without the help of others. It's the coach. It's your support. That you need that is key to your success in any profession, in my opinion. So I just wanted to add to that, because you're 100% correct. To go in this world thinking that you don't need help or you don't need a coach to assist you to get to that next level is a misperception, and we need to dead that for sure.
Yeah, Felicia, and especially as Black women, especially when we're in professions where we're the only one in the room, and God knows that's been the story of my life, and that you just wish that there was somebody else that was there who looked like you, not so much as
Mm,
that, you just need that
mhm.
sometimes. So for you to be one who, and I agree with as far as being an expert, but I do think we master some things only to remain
Indeed. Yeah.
teachable, to realize there's some
Yes.
other things to master. So
Yeah.
I can appreciate staying teachable, because when you say mastering project management 101, there are levels to this, you know,
Correct.
and thanking you. What was it like for you having, since you brought it up, what was it like
Mhm.
for you having been not seeing yourself so often in these spaces as a Black woman? Because what I
Oh.
realize in asking questions, some people will say, Tracy Mac, why are you always talking about Black women? First of all, I'm one. And
Mhm.
so, people are going to
Mhm.
see you for face value. When you walk in the room, they're going to see Black and woman. But what I realize
Mhm.
is that when you answer a question to help a Black woman, because we've been so marginalized and disenfranchised, when you answer a question to help a Black woman, it ends up helping everybody else. So, Felicia,
Yes.
go for it. Talk to us.
Oh my goodness. I can probably spend the entire podcast speaking about this topic because it wasn't easy to, and I call myself a fly in milk. I say that often. Whereas, you usually are the only person of color in the room, especially in the project management spaces. So I had to learn how, at first, I was a little intimidated by that
Mm,
because I knew that there was a perception of me, underlying perception of me that was unspoken and that existed. Now, I was not made to feel that way in many instances, but I was made to feel that way in some.
mhm,
I could tell you a story. Whereas I was heading to a conference, I was actually speaking at that conference at one of the companies that I work for. And I was simply going into my designated location, my seat, and one of the executives stopped me and asked me if I could go and get him some coffee. I was the
mm,
only woman of color in the room. I was dressed to the nines, and I'm thinking, what about myself? Did I allude to make you think that I was here to serve coffee? So I just politely looked at him and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not one of the staff here. I'm actually one of the participants. And he says he was very apologetic to me, but that was just eye opening. But when, and especially, he was extremely embarrassed when they called me up to speak in that conference, and they as soon as I got up, I looked at him while I was speaking the entire time, and he was flush red, because he was very embarrassed by the situation. But it was eye opening to me how, again, going back to what I was saying, just that underlying perception of you don't belong here, or
mhm,
you are here to serve me or help me, or in a lower capacity than me because of the way you look. So again, and that was very early on in my career when I started to move up to more of the senior management level. So I was intimidated by first, but I took that intimidation and said, no, your credentials, your experience, the way you work, how you manage, you received awards for this. You belong here. The confidence set in. And since then, me
mm,
walking in with my chest out and my head up, and when I speak and you see that I know what I'm talking about, it's almost like I'm demanding the respect. So,
mhm.
it was an adjustment to that degree by way of me walking in my confidence and
Yes.
walking in the fact that I know who I am and I
Mhm.
know what I can do and I know what my experience is. So
Wow.
with that's how I overcame that. So I don't even see the color anymore. I go in as
Yeah.
Felicia D. Stanley,
Mhm.
as I
Mhm.
am, whatever title I'm holding at that time, and I execute. That's what I do. I walk into my
I
work and
love
I
it.
walk into my
Girl,
life.
I'm giving you hearts myself. I'm giving you hearts.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here about to bubble over because I love the way you handled that situation. Because I will tell you, another reason why I was sitting over here bubbling, because the similarities of a situation I had. I was
Mm,
now I wasn't working for myself at the time. I was a administrative support for a staff judge advocate general. He was a full board colonel, and he didn't
mm,
know me. Matter of fact, they were in Iraq when I became his secretary, so I had been his little assistant when he wasn't even there. And so when he came,
mm,
his first thing of meeting me, there's military and there's order, and he said, "So you're the new secretary?" And I said, "Well, it's my job description says administrative support to the colonel, so yes, secretary." He just
mhm.
made sure I knew, as if secretary was derogatory, but I guess to him.
Resurrect.
And so he went in
Exactly.
his office,
Mm.
and they had told me he was known for putting his feet up on his desk and whatever. He was, kind of be a prick, like a term to a lot of people. But all of a sudden, he yelled out, "Hey, secretary." Now, I've already told him my name. He knows my name.
Mm,
"Hey, secretary." And I didn't answer. He
mm,
got up out of his chair and came to the door that separated his office from mine. He said, "Did you hear me calling you secretary?" I said, "Tracy, I'm Tracy." He said, "The colonel wants his
mhm.
coffee."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Okay." The colonel wants his coffee. Felicia, I'm not a
Wow.
coffee drinker for one. So I don't
Right.
make what I don't eat or drink. And it didn't reconcile with me. First of all, I was already
Right.
pissed, but it just didn't make sense to me. And so
Yeah.
he said, "The
Yeah.
colonel wants his coffee now." And another
Mm.
active duty person said, "Can you just make him
Now.
coffee?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." And everything, all the ancestors begin to talk, and the cloud
Yeah,
of witnesses,
absolutely.
everybody was talking. And I went
Mhm.
over to the coffee pot. I didn't even know how to measure. Some people say, "You don't know how to make coffee?" I don't drink it. I just threw whatever I thought would be in the filter, ran water, went and got water out of the little kitchen and put water in there. And he had a golf cup that had his name on it. So I knew it was his cup. It was a cup shaped like a golf ball with all the little divots in
Mhm.
it. And
Yeah.
I saw it was his cup. And I poured coffee in that cup all the way up to the top. And I walked to his office as the coffee burned my hand. And I
Mm.
slammed that coffee on his desk. I said, "This is the first and last cup of coffee I will ever make for you or anyone else." And I
Right.
walked out with burns on my hand, had to go and run cold water and get a cool rag and ended up getting some ointment. But just the assumption
The
of
assumption.
that.
Yeah.
And then when you talked
Yeah.
about the speaking engagement, your experiences are one and the same. I had a speaking
Mhm.
engagement one time, and everybody knows me as TracyMac. But then
Mhm.
you had to put your government name on your
Yeah, that's
registration. I
right.
was Tracy McNeil, and so I walked in
Mhm.
to register for the conference, and I'm the keynote. And I walk
Mhm.
in, and the ladies at the registration table, they'd hired a vendor to do the registration. And when I walked in, the lady said, "The hair show is upstairs." And I said, "I'm not here for the hair show."
Right.
I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm not here for the hair show." And
Ugh.
she said,
Mm.
"Well, what's your name?" And I said, "Tracy McNeil." And she looked all over. You know how when you go to some conferences, you have the different color ribbons as to
That's
your
right.
status, what you're there
Yes.
for, your access. Well,
Mhm.
I knew that I had complete access. So I knew I was going to have a rainbow on my and she looked down on the end where people were just attending. And I happened to eagle eye and saw my name tag way over there with all the cover. I said, "That's me." And my colleague who and you can't, all white folks ain't bad. I've got some,
Yeah.
and my
Yeah,
colleague
yeah.
Dan,
Yeah.
white man, he said, "Tracy, first of all, you messed them up." He was jokingly said, he said, "Tracy McNeil, they think you're a white Irish man." And
Yeah.
he leaned over and he said, he said, "That's her name tag and badge. Please give it to her, please." But
Uh-huh.
it was just like you said, those assumptions and the derogatory or
Yes.
things that people do that you do have to sometimes. I love the way you handled it. You handled it a lot better than I did back then. I've gotten much sweeter about it, Felicia. But, and I need to manage that project.
You know, I had to learn because, the first thing they'll do if I had reacted, I would become the angry Black woman because I was the only one in the room, right? And
Mhm.
they always try to, that's going into the whole conflict and resolution. That's in my book as well. The
Uh-huh.
way we handle conflict has to be a little different
Mhm.
than anyone else handling
Mhm.
conflict, because
Mhm.
you have to be more tactful, and you have to watch your words and how you speak and your non-verbal verbal cues and
Mhm.
all of those things. Especially for a
Isn't
Black
it
woman,
something we
because we are
have?
very
Isn't it
quickly late.
something? I'm sorry.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just thinking about what we have to do, what we
Yes.
choose to
Yes.
do
Mm.
just to be accepted. And
To
it's a
be accepted.
hard road to hoe. Y'all, if
Hmm.
you can
Hmm.
identify with this, chime in and let us know, especially if you had your
Yes.
experiences. Type a brief experience you may have had in the chat of what you have to overcome before we can get to being she don't want to say subject matter expert, but I'm gonna say expert in her writing this digital book about project management. So much
Mhm.
of that goes into how we have to manage ourselves around people that aren't required
Right.
to manage themselves. And
That's
so
right.
I had to learn, going off, especially, and even let's not even forget, Felicia, that's maybe a experience a Black woman has, but then as a female pastor and clergy, the countless
Mm.
experiences I've had of not being respected, to not um, allow them to take you out of character. So I'm a lot
Correct.
more kind now and how I
Lot,
respond.
you're better. Yes.
So give me this time.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. There's been a lot of
Yeah.
times I would have to walk away, and if I'm traveling, because at one point I used to travel often, I would have to walk away, go up to my hotel room, and let out just scream, or just sit for a moment and
And
collect
cry.
myself. Like, exactly, and cry, because why do I have to do this? Why do I have to deal with this? It's a different level of disrespect. It's the I don't know. It's very hard to describe, to be honest with you. I have a hard time articulating it because it is an experience that is jarring. It shocks
Yeah.
you at
Yeah.
first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to consciously think about how you're going to react. You can't react how you would naturally react, because then you'll be
Mm-hmm.
labeled.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about what you do and what you say before you do it. And I'm going to tell you, Tracy, it's exhausting.
Yes.
It's exhausting. So I'm saying that to say is that you have to love what you do, because I love what I do.
Yes.
Love what you do to deal
Yes.
with
Yes.
what you deal with, especially when you're
Yes.
working with, a multitude of people. And, in the
Mm-hmm.
profession I am, at my level now, I work 100% with executives. So
Mm-hmm.
dealing with that at a level where people have power, right? And one word or one phrase or one perception of you could travel and matriculate through many different networks. You have to be very careful. So
One.
that one, it only takes one. It only takes
One.
one. And that's what I talk about in my book. I talk about those
Yes.
things, just the conflict resolution, the
Yes.
adaptability is one thing,
Yes.
that I talk about, and how you have to somewhat be, a chameleon in some sense, in some cases, never losing yourself, but just
Yes.
knowing where you are and how to react in that
Mm-hmm.
moment of where you are. And how
Yes.
you use that application in your project management, or even in your stakeholder management. I talk about that. Your
Yes.
negotiation, your conflict resolution, and being strong in your decision, how to make a decision from behind. I talk about
Mm.
that in the book.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yeah. And
not
how to
in the front. You're
how to
not
lead from
leading.
behind. Yeah.
How to lead
Yeah.
from behind. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's something that, and I don't want to harp on the negative aspects of it or those
Mhm.
parts that really make us stronger, because you do have to persevere. And you use the word exhausting. Sometimes I have been exhausted before I even got to do my work.
Mm.
Just getting in the room was exhausting, or
Mhm.
being allowed to present or even when you're at times when I've had to present and do proposals. And before I could even get in the room, that maybe they didn't know I was a Black woman on paper because that Tracy is unisex and that McNeil looks Irish, you
Yes.
know. And then when they see me, you can feel what happens. But the more
Mhm.
you talk about it, Felicia, it just reminds me of what we met over in 2017 and that
Mhm.
fortitude.
That's right.
We have to have that
Absolutely.
fortitude. And I love what you're
Absolutely.
doing because you're taking your experiences and mentoring people through this book and
Mhm.
lifting as you climb. That this is what I've
Yes.
gone through. Let me help you so you don't have to do the same things. It doesn't put
The
people
same
down
thing.
or make people think that they
Mhm.
don't know anything, but you don't know this. And I think one of the
That's right.
beautiful things that we as women say quicker than our male counterparts sometimes are the three words, I don't know.
That's
You
right.
know, because you
That's
got to know
right.
what you don't know. And Felicia, I just want to say, and I
Mhm.
want to put it back up here so people have no excuse to know what it
Okay.
looks like, what you look like, and that they can even reach out to you on Instagram through Guidance Pro LLC, at Facebook at Guidance Pro LLC, and even on LinkedIn. She's on there under her name as Felicia
Mhm.
Wilson Stanley. And I want to
Mhm.
appreciate you so much, Felicia, for giving this and giving us even another understanding on what project management is. And that, yes, we can use it in our professional spaces, but we can take the tools that you have laid out in this digital professional development opportunity, and even how we can use some of those tools to project manage our lives, some situations, our
That's right.
circumstances. Uh, uh, Conflict resolution with coworkers. That's something that I've gotten
Yeah.
certified in, and that's half the issues in workplaces, resolving conflict.
Yeah.
So
Indeed.
yes, yes.
Indeed.
So
Indeed, it is.
because
Mhm.
the whole thing you said at the beginning is the purpose of being a project manager is to get to the end game. And sometimes
Correct.
there are hills and valleys and devils that pop up in the way. But if we set our attention and our affection on what
Yes.
is the end game here, I am here
Correct.
because of this. So you kind of just gotta just keep going. You know, whatever. Are
That's
there any
right.
words? And I know there are some words in conclusion
Mhm.
that you would like to leave with our
Mhm.
audience outside of getting your book and following you on different social media platforms? What is something you would like to leave with the Black Women's World podcast audience? Because people are listening to you from all over the world, different countries, different ethnicities, different
Mhm.
races, sexual orientations, different religions. They're listening to Miss Felicia Stanley. Tell the people
Yeah.
something else good, because you've been talking good the whole time, but give us something
Yeah.
else.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, one thing that I would like to leave with your audience is that you need to trust yourself and believe in what you can do. Don't ever discount your skill.
Mm,
I say that because, as I mentioned in the beginning, I did not recognize what I had. I did not recognize my skill. I had to have someone, recognize that for me or tell me, you
yeah.
do this well, you do that well. But I, I want you guys to hold up a mirror and really
Mhm.
analyze, how you do things naturally, and it comes to you just without thought, without second thought. And when you do those things, they are, I'd say, 95% successful. That is your skill, and you need to own in on that. Hone in on your skill. Do not doubt yourself, and just push yourself to do whatever you want to do in life. I'll have to say, this book was a year in the making for me, because uh, of the fact that I wanted to take what I was doing, coaching others verbally, through my consulting, and put it would say, or the direction I would give in certain
Yeah,
circumstances. But having that doubt of, can I really put all of this in a book? Can I really,
yeah,
put all of this on paper? Can I do this? That doubt will set in, but you have to overcome that and look at who you are. Look at your skill. and trust that and believe in that and just go do it. Just that simple. Just go do it. Whatever it is you want to do, go do it. And pick up my book to
Yes.
learn what those transferable skills are and to learn how to maximize those skills and to make those skills work for you. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. They've worked for me. I have 24 years of experience in this industry, many awards, many accolades to go behind that. You will not be disappointed. It works. I promise you. Mhm.
Wow, wow. I'm going to put it up here one more time for the people in the back or the people that ain't listening. Ladies and gentlemen, SistaNistas and SistaNista Lovers, her book, Mastering Project Management 101 Transferable Skills for Career Success. Felicia Stanley, I will tell you this. I have enjoyed talking with you and listening to you, Felicia. And something you just said in your conclusion was putting up a mirror. I'm a proponent of self-discovery.
Yeah.
Sometimes we spend so much of our time looking out of the window at everyone else that we don't take enough time to hold up a mirror and look at ourselves and sit with ourselves and not just ask the hard questions, but also give ourselves, we can brag on something. I can do this. I do this well. And sometimes you may need a
That's right.
mentor and sometimes people can mentor you like Felicia's doing through a book to show you, to reflect that, hey, this is one of the skills it takes to manage a project or to manage a project of your life. And I am thanking you so much for not only being our Black Women's Walk podcast VIP guest today, but for talking to our audience live and for allowing us to get to know Felicia Stanley a little better. And I thank you so much for being here. I thank you for what you do and who you are. And ladies and gentlemen, please follow Felicia Stanley at Guidance Pro LLC. I'm TracyMac. I'm grateful and I love you for real. Much love and peace.
You've been listening to Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, brought to you in part by TracyMac Solutions for Life Institute, coaching and training services. No doubt you have enjoyed being in our world, and it doesn't have to stop here. Head on over to blackwomensworld.com. This is my personal invitation to you to stay connected with me on social media and more. I'd love to see you there, and I'm so grateful you came to be with me here. Invite someone else to join you in our queendom next time so they can feel the vibe of our tribe of SistaNistas and SistaNista Lovers too. Remember to be kind, be authentic, be generous, be excellent, be grateful, and while you're at it, go ahead and be extraordinary, because that's just what SistaNistas do, on purpose, through mission, with passion and compassion. It's a Black woman's world, baby, and you, my SistaNista, are proof. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and your host, TracyMac. Wherever you are in the world, may you love and be loved by somebody. Peace.